Hey everybody, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be showing how to transform this into a cool palm tree that we'll be using for our Star Wars Celebration Battle of Scarif Diorama Builders Workshop. I'm Frank Durio and you're watching dioramaworkshop.com. Hey, I'm back. Okay, so if you're going to be doing this at the show, you're going to be using 3D printed stencils that Scott is making for us. But if you're going to be building this at home after the show, or if you can't attend the show, you're going to be using this, which is the templates that will be available on the dioramaworkshop.com site. And this paper is too thin, so we're going to mount it on cardboard, and this is what's going to start us on our palm tree adventure. You ready? Let's get to it. So I found this old piece of cardboard. You could use any cardboard really. What you want to do is just strengthen the piece of paper. I'm going to start by just loosely cutting around the shapes. Take some glue stick that you have. You don't want to use hot glue because you're going to be making bubbles under the cardboard. So what you want to do is you want to cover your piece of tape, or you want to cover your decal template with glue stick. Now what we need to do is just cut around these shapes. Okay, so we have our template here for the tape. This is how we're going to be creating our leaves. And then here is the template that we have for tracing the shape of our leaves and what will become the palm tree. So these two templates are going to be your most important part of the build. Okay, so the core element of your palm tree is your palm leaves. And these are the different steps that you're going to attain. So you're going to start with your masking tape, with your flower wire, the tracing of the petal or the leaf, the cutting of the leaf, using paint to create a two-tone streak, and then cutting the grooves with scissors, and then eventually bending or putting a little curve to create your palm leaf. It's as easy as that. Now the way that this works is that your flower wire goes in the center over here. From here to here is the minimum length that you put your green tape, right? And then the folding tape here is where the tape's going to fold over. This is a flower filament. This is part of your stem. So take a piece of tape. Now it doesn't matter if it sticks out a little more. You want to place your piece of tape with the sticky side up. Then take your stem, place it in the center as much as you can, in the center of your tape, like this. Okay, to where the folding line comes. If you grab with your two fingers here, then you're able to pull this tight, and then you can align with the sides better, and then when you press down you have your fold at the stem, and then you have a perfect two-sided piece of masking tape. When you have your 10 pieces of tape leaves, now it's time to use your stencil. Take your stencil at the tip, you're going to align it with the metal rod in the center, and then you're going to take this tip and align it with the other metal rod, And then you're going to trace with your pen around the tape. Over here, the same thing. Which gives you your leaf pattern. So my shapes are all traced, as you can see. And remember at the beginning I said if your template, if your leaf went a little further, it didn't matter, because once you trace it, once we cut at this corner, you're going to lose whatever is going past here. So that didn't matter. It was just better to have it longer than too short. You go around like this. Try to stick on the inside of your line so that you don't have like a big black line around your leaf pattern over here. Once it's done, it'll look less messy. So I cut that. Then I cut this one. You could use an X-Acto too if you want to cut on the mat, but I'm using scissors here because this is what we're going to be using at the show. And then your excess tape here that you had that you don't need, you just pull it off. See? It just comes off like that. And then you have your perfect leaf. So we have our leaves. And we're ready to start painting. Okay, here's a cool tip. If you have styrofoam at home from the dollar store or from one of your packing items or something like this, this is perfect for drying your leaves, because once you paint your leaf, you have to let it dry. So what I do is that I just stick it like this in one of the holes, and see, it holds it perfectly without having to touch the leaf, and it can dry. And once it's dry, then you can go and do the cutting. But then see, as you paint, then you plant the other one, and then you plant the other one, and see, so none of them touch, so it's easier. And because they're not on the table, they're not going to be sticking to the surface. You can like paint the two sides at the same time. What you need is one of these little sponges here, and you're just going to cut a little piece off, and this is all you need. A small piece like this. Now your leaf is this color. You want to get an acrylic paint, okay, an art paint that's slightly a bit darker. You want to take a piece of scrap cardboard like this, shake your bottle, you're going to put a little bit of green paint. That's all you need. Then you're going to take your sponge with the rough side, not the spongy side. You want the rough side, and then you're going to dab it like this. You can rub some of the excess off so it's not too wet. So what you want to do is you want to go from the stem, you want to brush the paint away from the stem towards the outside, but at an angle, like at a 45-degree angle. You don't want to go up and you don't want to go sideways. So what you want to do is just put light paint like this, and see how you get the streaks from the sponge. You don't want to press too hard because you want to keep the two colors. Then you do the same thing for the other side. Now it doesn't matter if it goes missing in some areas, that's what you want. You want to give the effect of having two-tone and not just too much paint on it. Then you can go to the other side. If you're missing some paint, you can get some more, and then brush this like that. When you're done, just poke it in and then let it dry. Take your next leaf, place it on your mat. The fun thing about this also is that no two are alike, so it makes it look very organic. If you have some blotches like this, don't worry. Once it's cut, it won't look as much as evident, but you want to try to keep streaks instead. And my plants are all drying, ready to be cut in a couple of minutes. The fun part is that no two texture is alike, which makes the plant look very organic. When your paint is dry, you're ready to start cutting it and transform this basic teardrop leaf shape into this shape, which is the cut fringe that you find on palm trees. Now see, when I use the scissors, you want to cut like this in the angle that, if I can grab this, in the angle that you were painting, or at least close. You don't have to follow exactly this line. You could go a little bit angular, but you want to go in this direction. Now here's your wire in the center, so you want to cut on this side of the leaf, you want to cut this way, right? And then on this side of the leaf, you want to cut that way. This is why when you did your leaf graphic or your leaf painting, your streaks went from this end this way and then this end this way. So it gives you kind of your rough cutting guides idea so that you don't get confused when you start cutting. Now the other trick to cutting is you want to create what you have like gaps in between the tape. You don't want to just have cut tape. So what you're going to do in order to do that, I'm going to exaggerate the scissor movement. Let me go here. What you're going to do is, instead of just going here, if I put like this, instead of going snip, 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 you're going to go snip, 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 snip. So by doing that, you're going to create some holes in between the cutting, which will give you the effect that you have here where like some pieces are missing, right? I'll explain that in a little while. You'll see it. You'll understand better. You'll understand this better once you do your first cut. Remember also that after your first one, you'll do a second one, which will be better than the first. The third will be better than the second, and so on and so on. So by the time you're at your like second palm tree, your leaves are going to be looking even better and better. So take it slow, and it's okay if you make some gaffes or mistakes. For the first ones, that's what happened to me with the prototypes. It took me 6 trees to get the technique right. So just keep practicing, and you'll see how by the time you even do the 10th leaf, your result will be 100 times better. So let's start cutting. You're going to cut like this, and you want to do very thin. Don't do big gaps. Try to stay as close as possible to the one that you did before. Now see, I'm going to angle my scissor, then I'm going to angle it back, then go at it again, angle it a little bit, then go like this, like this, like this, a little bit angled, like that, like this, a little bit angled, then like this again. What you want to do is you want to have the tip of your scissor here, you want it to reach as close as you can to the center of the stem here. Okay? So now where am I? I've cut all the way, I'm up to here now. Okay, so then you keep going, just thin. I'll do like a really fat example on one just to show you how it doesn't look as nice. You want to just do thin cuts. Here we'll do it angled, back to this again. And angle, and cut. So, as you see, there's some that fell. Here, can you see this? There's some that fell already just from the cutting. And then if you pluck with your fingers like this, right? Sometimes you'll be able to separate and see which ones are really thin, and you can just do like an eyelash. You can say, okay, I want to put a gap here, right? So then you just pluck that one, like if you were pulling an eyelash with a tweezer. Sometimes it's easier with the tweezer, and all my fingers getting caught up. So you just pull that, and see, you have the piece comes off. Usually you can, that's what makes it organic, because it's not perfect. I wanted it to cut there, but there are palm leaves that cut at the mid-range there, so that's fine. Just try to find another one. Here's one. See, this one came off completely. You see? And then you just keep going like that. And see, this will create gaps in between your pieces, and then when you play with them after, here I can pull this one off too. Try not to make too much of a gap, because then it'll look a little weird, right? You don't want it to be like a broken comb. And then I'm ready for the other side, so I'm going to turn this, and then I'm going to cut on this end. So cut, 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 angle, cut, 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 angle, cut, cut, cut. And then once you finish your cuts, if you see that some of your pieces are too fat, here I'll do an example like this one. Okay, then I'll do cut, cut. And again, like I said before, when you do your second one, it will look better than the first, and the third will look better than the second, the fourth will look better than the fourth. Here I'll do an angle cut there. Cut, 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 cut. Okay, so then you play around with this. Okay, see how this side, okay, let me zoom in a little bit. This side, the cuts are a little bit thicker than on this side, right? So if you see that, say that one piece, you find it is too thick, say like this one, right? You don't like that, then you can take your scissor and you could cut it in half. And then make it two pieces. So you do the same thing on this one as you did on the other side. Just pluck some pieces off, find one you don't want, right? And then pluck like that. You don't need to do this step, but sometimes it makes it look nicer. If you take your scissor like this, you can ask your dad or your mom to help you with this part. And see, if you lay it flat against the leaves, and then you keep some pressure with your thumb on the leaves, and then you just move your scissor up like this. Okay, I'm going to do it on one side, you'll see. You just slightly bend, and it gives you the effect like a curled eyelash. When a woman puts a mascara on and she makes her eyelashes all nice and sexy. So you're turning your palm tree into a nice sexy palm tree. So do you see the difference between this side and then this flat side? It helps you make the palm tree like curved instead of flat. So let's do it on the other side. And now you see how it curves instead of laying flat. Take your wire and slightly bend the palm leaf this way as if you were taking your finger and just bending it whatever shape that you want. That's the cool thing about the wire. So now we finished cutting one piece. You're going to grab your next leaf and you're going to do the same thing. Again, you're going to snip, 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 snip. So you're going to do this for the remaining leaves on your tree. Okay, you can see that there's quite a few trimmings after doing all of the leaves, and here you can see that they're all cut and ready to be placed together for the next step. Now if I get close, see, what's really fun is if I get if I have a pointer here, I'll use my paintbrush. If I get close, what's really fun is that, see, you have gaps that form naturally in between, and if you look at the other one, the gaps are not at the same place, so it makes it look like really organic, actual living plants, which is really cool. Here's another one. See, the tears are not in the same spots as the other ones. Here you have the same thing. Here's the one where you have like a bigger gap over here, and it just makes it look really cool. So now it's time to take all of this and we need to bunch them together. For the next step, you're going to be needing just a normal straw, some masking tape, and some little beads from the dollar store. A big bead, which will be for the base, and then a medium bead, which will go at the top over here. And then if I take the bag, inside the bead bag, then you'll have these tiny beads here to make coconuts. You want to take your bead and you want to place your wires inside. And then move it up like this, so that all of the stems hit the bead here. Go back to the bottom here, your roots. You're going to take your straw and you're going to pass all the wires through the straw like this. Whoops. The straw will stop at your bead. Okay? Then the last step is you take your medium bead and you're going to pass all the wires inside here. So you have the bottom of your tree, the tree top, and then you're going to have your root system over here. So if you want, for now, you could even, to prevent the bead, you could spread your wires like this into a star shape. Like this. Can you see that? Take your regular masking tape, take a small piece, start your piece of masking tape at the base, okay, and roll it at the top here like this, and then just roll it, angle it so that it goes down like that. First you wanted to make it go all the way around one time, okay, around the bead. Make sure you press at the top, okay, and at the bottom. You want to cover the bead with the tape. Then you start angling, you start twisting this down, not like that, bring it down, fold it on itself, and then you start wrapping the straw. So you just wrap your straw like a candy cane all the way around. Grab another piece of tape, add it to this one, and then just spin it. All the way down. Okay, you keep going until you get to the bead. Then you want to cover the bead the way you covered at the top there. So here you're just going to keep going. Then you're going to smush it here. And when you're done, you have your covered base, your covered top, you're ready to paint your trunk. You'll want to use some normal brown art craft paint. Doesn't matter what kind of brown. If it's too dark, you could mix it with some white. So I have this little plastic Tupperware sandwich container. Shake the brown. I'm going to put a bit of brown. Add a little bit of white. And take my paintbrush. I'm just going to mix the two colors together. Okay, you want something that looks kind of like a chocolate bar. I'm getting hungry. And you're going to start brushing like this. The less thick you put it, the faster it'll dry. Grab it by the leaves, then you can hold it like this and paint the bottom. Place it on a piece of styrofoam or something for a couple of minutes, and then we're ready for the next step. While your tree dries, you could take these small little beads and make some coconuts. Now you don't need to put coconuts, but it's kind of cool when you do. We're using leaf green art paint. Now if you don't have this specific color, you can use any other green. Just don't make it as dark as the leaves. You don't want to use the same dark as this one that you used before. You want to use it a bit lighter. Take your paintbrush and you just want to paint your coconut. Now some people think coconuts are brown, but they're actually green. When it's painted, take a piece of old cardboard like this that you had before, and then just take your paintbrush and then push it off and onto the mat there to dry. That's one. Take your next bead, place it, bead number 2, or coconut number 2 I should say. It's like a Sesame Street episode. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coconuts. Once your paint on your tree is dry, you want to take your small piece of sandpaper, and we're going to add a second color effect to it by scraping off the paint at the tips of the tape. So here's what the effect looks like. What you want to do is you want to just lightly rub off like this. To start getting this effect, see? Like that. This is what it looks like once you're done. No two trees are going to be the same because each person makes it different, which makes the tree look more organic in the jungle. No two trees are going to look the same, so it's going to be just as amazing as when we did our Ewok diorama where you had the Endor forest. Was one of my favorite builds. So if you want to rub more, do some more. Remember to go in the direction that's opposite of what the tape was rolled. There you go. Okay, I'm happy with that. We have 2 small little steps left. We have Spanish moss. Spanish moss. I have to learn to speak in these videos. It's just crazy. The Spanish moss will make your tree look more realistic because it's an organic material. You don't need it, but it's like very not expensive at the store. You could get like a huge bag like this. It's really worth it. And you're going to be placing this now and your little coconuts, and then the tree will be finished. So let's move on to the last steps. So this is what the moss looks like out of the bag, and this is what you're going to be placing around the base of the leaves here. And this is going to make the tree look a bit more realistic. You want to put just a little bit of hot glue, not too much, just a little bit. And then you're going to take some of this moss and you're just going to spread it around the top like that. Some more glue. Bunch it together. And then there you go. Some will fall off, it's normal. See, already it's looking better. It's looking more real. Now, you're going to stick some of your little coconuts on. A little bit hot glue. One coconut. Bit of hot glue. Another little coconut in there. Stick that there. Almost looks like a face. Like Beaker from the Muppets. Okay, let's put 2 coconuts up here. Some hot glue. A little coconut. I don't know if we need the 5th one. I'll save it for the other tree. I'll save this one for another one. So this is what the coconuts look like once they're in place. But it still doesn't look like a tree because all the palm leaves are sticking up. It looks more like a feather duster. So this last step is where the magic happens. Are you ready? You take one leaf at a time and you start folding it out. Now remember how you use the scissor technique. If you did this step, you could have bypassed it, it's fine. But if you did the scissor sort of like curl effect on the leaves, make sure that the curl is pointing up. You want the curls going down with the top of the curl being at the top. So if that's the case, then you want to spin the leaf until the curl hits the bottom. So the first thing to do is bring all your leaves down, one at a time. There you go. 2, 3. Are you starting to see it look like a tree? This one goes this way. This one goes, let's put it over here. Let's put this here. Now here's where I'm going to show you how the fun is also, because no 2 tree will be alike. Now, I was telling you you have to use between 8 and 11 of these leaves, because if I go like this, you see, it's pretty much fans out in a nice shape. If you had less than this amount, you'd have like a big empty hole. It would look a little weird. Now, you don't want your tree to look like this either. So what you want to do is you want to curve this way all your leaves. Because there's a flower wire inside each leaf, that's the cool part, that each leaf can bend individually and differently. So if you want one to be at the bottom like this, you can do that. You could have one stick up more like this. Just make sure that they all have at least a bend in it, instead of like a flat wire surface. And then your tree is almost done. Because you had the straw, this is where the straw comes in handy also. It allows you to manipulate each leaf into a position. If you want the leaf to be more over here, you can do that because the straw is allowing you to move it inside. And so you just position it and play it as if it was a hairdo on your doll maybe, or on yourself. And you just have fun until you're happy with your tree, how it looks. If you have the moss, then there's one last step before you're completely done. You want to put a small amount of hot glue right here. Tiny bit of moss. And there you have it. One completed palm tree, including the roots. That'll be helpful in planting it. I'll be showing that in a future video. Now all you have to do is build another 4 or 5, maybe 10 more of these if you're making a jungle. It's all up to you. You decide the size that you want, but it's as simple as this to make the tree. It took under an hour to make it, and I think it looks really cool for using simple dollar store material. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe. Ring the bell if you want to be notified for future videos, and I'll be talking to you soon. Ciao for now. Frank out. Thanks for watching DioramaWorkshop.com. If you want more interactivity, you can follow us on these multimedia platforms. If you have a question about past or future Star Wars Celebration workshops, send me an email at dioramaworkshop.com@gmail.com. If you have a Facebook account, join the official Star Wars Celebration Diorama Builders fan club today. If you like the video, please subscribe, share, and tell your friends to come check us out. If you want to see even more Star Wars Celebration crew coverage, click on the link to warp to dioramaworkshop.com, the official Star Wars Celebration Diorama Builders website.